Welcome back everybody to a brand new rebuild, and we're going to go to a request to do Cardiff. Cardiff narrowly missed relegation, thankfully for them, from the Championship this season, finishing one place above the relegation zone, 4 points ahead I think it was. They were relegated from the Premiership back in 18-19 and they looked as though they were going to bounce straight back, finishing 5th. The following season they finished 8th in the Championship, and then after that it's just gone a little bit pear-shaped, finishing 18th the previous season and obviously just narrowly missing relegation this season. So our task for this rebuild is to get them back to the big time, back to the Premiership, and see if we can hold them there. As you can see, they had their greatest era during the 1920s. Despite not having won anything for 9 years, Bluebirds are still one of the most successful clubs in Wales, boasting 36 competition wins. They finished runners-up in the English top division for once in 1924, having won the FA Cup in 27 and finishing runners-up in the Carabao Cup in 2012. This is a favoured formation, which is good because I quite like this formation, but I'm not sure if they're actually DMs or just central midfielders, but we'll have a look. But we'll try to stick to this as close as possible unless it does go a little bit pear-shaped, of which case we will have to move things around. But if they're DMs, I'd rather have somebody in midfield there with the go between the two wingers. Seems to be an awful lot of a gap here. They want to develop players using the youth system, play attacking football, record a Sky Bet Championship top half finish for the first season. Obviously we want to do better than that and get to the Premiership as quick as possible. Whether or not that be in the first season remains to be seen. The supporters want a top half finish as well, finish above Swansea and above Bristol City. So just before we go and have a look at our team, let's have a look at the staffing situation for starters. Ooh, a little bit of work here I think is needed. They are a little cash strapped, so having no transfers for the first season probably may be a good idea. I wouldn't have thought there'd be much of a transfer budget anyway. And currently they've got £86 million in debt, £82 million remaining there. 750,000 transfer debt, and they're not paying interest on a lot of the debt, so that's good. Direct to loan, there's interest on that one. That's the only one. Other than that, the gift loans. So let's have a look at the squad that we have got. So if we go in order of ability, some of the better ones, Sori Kaba, 27 years old striker. Looks pretty decent actually. Not bad for 27 years old. Not great on finishing. He's pretty quick. I think he's actually our better striker. 25-year-old Andy Rinomata. Again, not too bad midfield. DM as well. I think he's more suited to the midfield role. 25 years old. A player we could probably definitely work around. Pering. Yeah, I'm not sure how to say that, but again, 26 years old, right back. Okay, that's pretty decent. Stats, his physicals don't look too bad, and he has got a little bit of growth left in him, but not an awful lot. Jaden Feligene, right winger or left winger, quick. Plenty of growth left in him, and I think if we can manage to hold on to him, £50 million though, that could be an issue if we don't get any money for next season. He is on loan to us. I think he finishes his 30th of June next. Well, a couple of years actually. He's on loan from Aston Villa. That's when his contract expires. I think he's only here to the beginning of June or the end of June next season. Mark McGuinness, another high potential player. This one's is a Cardiff City player. Again, potential is really good. Centre back. 6'4", can head the ball. He's got good jumping reach, tackling, passing, marking's not too bad actually. Another centre back. Oh yes, we've got two centre backs that are young and look pretty good. Again, not bad pricing for a 25-year-old. He's got good determination and strength, but other than that, jumping reach is okay. He's got some potential left in him as well. I think somebody we can definitely work around. Callum Robinson, left wing. Okay, so we've got wingers sorted, so that's fine. And possibly a forward. Potential seems high as well. And stats-wise, doesn't look bad. Joe Rawls, 28 years old, midfield. Okay, again, they've got some pretty decent players. We just need to get them into a formation that kind of fits. Is there any high potential players that we can have a gander at? Isaac Davis, 20-year-old right winger. Ooh, patent acceleration looks really nice and high potential, although not that high. Hopefully that can go up a bit higher. Joe Bagan, Irish player again. High potential. Pretty decent. Left back. Okay, some of these players we can probably use. I don't think, on a whole, depending on what the other teams look like, we could possibly challenge for the title this season. And Ruben Colwell, another player that we haven't really looked at. 20 years old, 6'2", got a few years left on his contract. High potential. Higher than the majority of our players, actually. Stats don't scream out. However, 20 years old, he can grow a lot. So formation wise, we are going to play with 2 DMs at the back with the attacking prowess going forward. Colwell and Philogene keep their places. McGuinness and Bagan as well at the back. Young players that we want to try and build around. We'll see how they get on. They are the early players, I think, with a 5-star potential as well. So we want to see how far they grow. We got off to a very good start in the friendlies. Not an awful lot of goals being scored, but also, on the other hand, not an awful lot of goals being conceded. We've had a couple of losses already in the league, Birmingham and West Brom. But we have beaten Norwich 1-0, Reading 2-1. We're through to the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup after beating Millwall and Ipswich without conceding a goal. We've also drawn Bristol City, which the fans want us to finish above. Preston we beat 1-0 and Luton we drew 0-0. Currently we are lying in 8th position. Whether or not we'll win the league at this point, I don't know. Middlesbrough are just flying away with it. 7 from 7 so far, but it's a long way to go in this division. We've drawn Hull in the next round of the Carabao Cup as well. And we entered the 3rd round of the FA Cup, thankfully. And our season preview sees us finishing mid-table. Obviously, we want to finish as high as possible and try and get into that playoffs and try and get promotion to the Premiership as soon as possible. Whether or not we'll do it in the first season or 2 remains to be seen, but that is our task at hand. Right, we finish in the top half, which is pretty good, and we finish in 8th position. I don't think we made it to the playoffs. I think we may have just missed out on it by 2 points. But it's Middlesbrough that go through in the end alongside Blackburn and Norwich. But 70 points isn't a bad haul at all. Only just the 12 losses, which we seem to have drawn our last couple of games towards the end. So that probably cost us our place in the playoffs, in fact. But striker Sori Kaba is the league's leading goal scorer. The Golden Boot winner for the division. 33 goals ahead of Pukki and Berriton Diaz as well. And he got 16 Man of the Match awards. Our league form, though, we did have a couple of losses right at the very beginning. 46 games in a season is an awful lot when you add cup games in that as well. But we do go for a stretch of unbeaten run quite for a while, for a couple of months at least, anyway, before we lose a couple on the bounce again. But 3-0 for Rotherham. Coventry we win. Blackburn we beat 4-2, which is a really good result. We do lose to Sheffield United and Stoke, and then we just seem to lose our way towards the second half of the season. In fact, did we lose any players in the second half of the season to warrant that? It is a poor show of form, though, to be fair. A 4-0 over Reading. We do lose to Norwich, Birmingham and Middlesbrough, Blackpool and Sunderland. So teams that were above us, though, so maybe not. But Stoke we beat 2-1 at home. Watford we beat, which is nice, away from home actually, but we draw with Burnley away, which is probably a tough ask to get any sort of result from. The FA Cup we get beat by Bradford City 1-0 at home in the 79th minute after having Adams sent off. Disappointing not to get any further than that, though. Carabao Cup we get as far as the 3rd round after beating Millwall and then Ipswich on penalties, but we lose to Hull 2-0, 8th and 54th minute winners there. So we did pretty well to get that far. Would have been nice to go that extra mile, but I think concentrating on the league's more important at this stage. So 33 goals by Kaba, who's on loan. I think we need to try and hang on to him with a couple of million transfer value on him, and Philogene as well. He's £15 million worth. If we could nab him for any cost, that would be quite good, and keeper as well. We need a lot of money, £20 million, and we could secure all them 3 players. Like I say, 33 goals for Kaba, 9 goals for Robinson, Philogene 6 and 9, 5 and 4 for Colwell. Isaac Davis 3 goals, in his 2 starts. Not an awful lot of goals. Contributions from everywhere else, though, to be fair. It's quite poor. Transfer budget of £430,000. Transfer revenue, 25%. So that's not going to help matters at all. And we've got 25 million in the bank. That's still quite high, but even so, we should be having a little bit more money than that if we're going to survive, especially with them loan players. We may have to go the loan route again, I feel. Hopefully, if we don't get them, which we're not going to now with that money, I just hope we can entice him to hang on another season maybe. So it's been a very, very quiet transfer window. Nothing has been done. Players were released. That is about it. Nobody was brought in. We couldn't afford to bring anybody in. Even wages as low as £2,000 a week, we just could not do it. And as you can see, we are overpaying on wages by a good £52,000 a week. Our transfer budget went into the salaries. We just couldn't do a thing. We had to renew some contracts, and still there are contracts not renewed. As you can see, we've got 6 players here that end in next season that are pretty good ones, like Ryan Whittle. We've got Collins as well. We can't get them to sign a new contract. They're on low wages currently, but they want £20,000 to £30,000. We can't afford to do it. Even when we tried to bring in some free players, we can't afford the wages. This has to go down as probably one of the worst transfer windows as I've ever encountered. And if we have a look at our transfer history anyway, £74,000 brought in, but that's all for the youngsters. That's it. A couple of players going out on a free. And we did sell Ellie King, though, to Hull for £250,000, but that was it. So we're sticking with the same side we have got, apart from a few players that we are missing from last season, especially the loanies. We couldn't bring them back in. With that first loss and then 4 straight wins, including the first game against Luton in the Championship. We did beat Peterborough on penalties in the Carabao, smashed Bristol Rovers in the second round of the Carabao, of which now we have Southampton at home, so that could be quite interesting. We have drawn with Wycombe and Burnley, which was a really good result, away from home, a 0-0. And Sunderland we did lose 1-0 to. The table, we are lying in 14th position currently. We are 7 points off the leaders. Getting out of this division is going to be very, very difficult. But we need the money. And if we're not being invested in, we can't do an awful lot. So we've promoted a couple of youngsters in from the youth team. That is about it, just to make the team up. But apart from that, we've really struggled in the market. So we'll just have to make do with what we have. And hopefully we'll get some investment sooner rather than later. We are predicted to finish mid-table once again. But the teams relegated from the Premiership, Brighton, Fulham and Bournemouth, are expected to go straight back up. So let's simulate our next season, our second season, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we do finish into a playoff position at least. We finished in 6th position this season, but we are back in the big time, boys and girls. We only just made it into the playoffs as well, and we get through them. So we'll have a look at the results in just a second. We follow Brighton and Fulham, who both over 100 points each, which is absolutely mental. But we only lost 10 games this season. Won 21, drawn 15. We scored 65, which is a lot better than last season, and we conceded less as well, and less goals than games played, which is always a very good sign. And our young striker Keon Ntet finishes 1 goal behind Fulham's Wahi on 34 goals to his 35, and Robertson gets quite a few assists as well. But it's good to see that we're leading players in the yellow cards category, though. Not a good sign, although it does tell us that we have been getting stuck in this season. And you can see in the final of the playoffs we did beat Bournemouth 3-1 in the end. Fantastic stuff. Our league form was a lot better this season, with a lot more greens in there. A few more losses at the first half of the season, though, up to December. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losses. But we did have quite a few wins, including a 6-5 victory over Stoke, which is absolute. Wow, that's really good. That would have been a summer game with Atet getting 4 goals in that game. Fantastic. We do go on an unbeaten run, and then the last couple of months we do lose the odd game now and again, But a 4-1 loss to Luton, though, that hurts. Sunderland we lose to, that could have been devastating. But 2 draws to save April, and then the last month with 2 wins, Swansea and Reading to get us into the playoffs. And then we played Ipswich, which we win 5-3 over all the 2 legs, with that 3-1 in the final. I can't believe it. Second season, we are in the Premiership. The FA Cup, we bow out at the 3rd round after a replay and on penalties and at home. The Carabao Cup, we get as far as the 4th round though, so we did pretty well. And after beating Peterborough and Bristol Rovers, we did beat Southampton, even though they had 2 players sent off. And we scored after 8 minutes. Norwich, I think they got promoted last season into the Premiership. They did pretty well. And it was actually Norwich that went on to win the Carabao Cup, would you believe? So how did our players perform then? Etet, then the 22-year-old, who's got quite a bright future ahead of him. We're going to stick with him, I think, at 22 years old, unless somebody better obviously comes along. But 38 goals in 52 games is really, really good, with Colwell netting 9, 8 each for Davis and Robinson. So you can see their top 3 are 22 years old. Robinson's 29 now. So obviously we'll look to his experience. Sawyer's at 32. We'll probably look to move him along, possibly. Winter, Ojo, 26 years each, scoring a few goals as well. How about assists this season? 2 players getting double figures, Ojo and Robinson. That's pretty good, and a lot more assists throughout the whole team as well. So financially, we are being given a whopping £38 million, but I know we have got a lot of contracts to get over the line first before we even start looking at some new players. So hopefully that won't diminish as much, and our wage budget has doubled as well. So that's good news for us. Well, hopefully we won't touch on the transfer budget in order to get some of these signings over the line. First of our signings, Paddy McNair, experienced centre back. He can play at right back as well, but $425,000 from Middlesbrough. I'd say that's a bargain, and be a really good, decent backup for one of our young centre backs currently. We raid Bournemouth for their goalkeeper, £500,000. That's all it costs for Mark Travers to come to Cardiff. We needed a good, decent goalkeeper. We've got 3 now. We can't get rid of them. So, yeah, we're stuck with 3 goalkeepers currently. I think one of the contracts run out next season. So, but looking at his stats, 42 goals conceded in 89 games for Bournemouth. That's pretty good, if that was true. However, he's only conceded 9 in 5 for us so far. And 2 of them games, we did concede 8 goals. So, he's done pretty well in the others. We steal Harvey Vale from Chelsea, right winger, for £2.4 million. We did pay some money. 25 grand a week he's on. Not too bad at all. We wanted some more youngsters in the team and a lot of backup and players with a little bit of experience. Yes, 20 years old. You won't have that much experience, but he has played 36 games for Birmingham and scored 11 goals. So he's learning his trade and with a lot of potential in him. We pick up another striker from Sheffield United, Iliman Ndiaye, for £8.25 million. He's by far our best striker, I think he is. Colwell can play there as well, but Colwell's playing in the cam position. But Etet, I think he's pretty good as well, so that hopefully they're going to be sharing 39 goals in 103 games for Sheffield United. He hasn't scored for us just yet in 5 appearances, so that's kind of worrying. And finally from Brighton for £10 million, Hayden Roberts comes in, a centre-back. He can play left as well. We just brought him in, again, 22 years old, 6 foot, and he looks just pretty reasonable. And he was probably the best of a, I don't want to say a bad bunch, but from Brighton, he's been in the Premiership, so experience goes a long way currently. And we just want to survive this season, like I said before. So £22 million spent. We only managed to offload 1 player. A couple went on free when the contracts ran out, but Daley Campbell goes to Plymouth for £1.3 million. Now, we did have around about £30 million, but like I said, we needed to renew a lot of contracts that were going to run out at the end of this season. And it so happened there was at least 3/4 of the team that needed new contracts and players that we wanted to hang on to. So that kind of diminished a lot of the transfer budget. It's been a bit of a mishmash in results, I'm not going to lie. Friendlies went pretty well. We even beat Newcastle in the first game in the Premiership 2-0. I'm really happy with that. Colwell and Robinson are both scoring. Then we got smashed by Aston Villa. Man City, we drew 1-1, which was a real good result, especially at home, and especially we had a player sent off with 20 minutes to go, so really chuffed with that. And then we got beat 4-0 by Brighton. Wow. I don't know what to say. I really don't. But Fulham, we come back with a 3-1 victory away from home and into the next round of the Carabao Cup, which we play Arsenal at home. So that'll be interesting to see if we manage to get past that. And then Chelsea, we had a really good result with a 0-0 at home. We are currently lying 13th in the table. There's no disillusionment that we are going to be anywhere up here. We just need to survive. As long as we finish above like the likes of Forest and Fulham, hopefully Middlesbrough, Blackburn, hopefully Southampton. We did win in the cup. I think it was a Carabao Cup last season. So hopefully we will do the same again in the league. But we do need to get a few more points on the board. But 5 so far, 5 from 5. As long as we can keep to that ratio, then I think we should survive. The season preview or the media prediction, yeah, we're going straight back down. So hopefully that does not happen. But if it does, we do it all again next season with a different budget altogether. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen and we do just survive. Man City, 5-4 favourites to win the league, as if it would be anybody else. Wow, we only just survived by 4 points. Wow, I knew it was going to be close this season, but I didn't realise how close. That is really squeaky bum on seats time. We only managed 7 victories, including Leicester, Villa we beat, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Everton, Middlesbrough and Newcastle. So we didn't beat anybody twice. That is unfortunate. We do draw 12 games though, which is quite good, and only lose half our games. Not too bad from that respect. 32 goals, it's poor. 63 conceded. It could be worse. It's the third or fourth worst in the league. 33 points. We do manage it under games played. So it's not ideal, but at Forest, Blackburn and Middlesbrough, they were a lot worse than ourselves. Our league form, so let's have a quick look. So we didn't do too bad up until November with a couple of wins, draws in there. We do fall apart in December with quite a lot of losses. A 5-0 thrashing by Newcastle. We only lose 2-0 to Liverpool though, away from home, so that wasn't too bad. But Man United, we do draw 1-1. So at Old Trafford as well. And then we beat Forest day after, and then it's like, hang on a minute, we're on a bit of a run. Not to be. We take a couple of more thrashings. We don't win another game. We only win 2 games in 2025. The Carabao Cup, we get to the 3rd round, losing to Arsenal after beating Fulham 3-1 away from home. The FA Cup, we get to the 4th round, losing to Newcastle 3-0 after beating Sheffield United. So how did our squad perform? Right, okay, so Robinson, who's not our striker, 12 goals. Okay, Harvey Vale, 7 goals. Paddy McNair, he got 5 goals. And he is our striker, 4 goals. Okay, and Colwyn, 4 for him. Yes, not impressive to say the least. So the window, we've been given £56 million. That is superb. Considering we finished 4th from bottom, that is fantastic. We have got a little bit of wiggle room in the wages, and we've got £98 million in the bank as well. So let's go and spend some of this money, or all of it if we can. See if we can squeeze a little bit more out of them as well. Like we want some more of the transfer revenue percentage, please. We want some more of that. It's only at 40%, so if we sell anybody, we're not even getting half their money. So we want a little bit more than that as well. We pick up Michael Anja Balikwisha for left wing or forward. He comes to us on a free, hence why we can pay his 40 grand a week wages. But look at that, he's worth up to 23 million. For a freebie, that is some profit. £2 million from Porto, Ibrahim Sulemana. He'll come in and play in the DM role or midfield. Stats look pretty decent. We're not getting the big star players to this club, but 22 years old with some potential. Our very latest signing, Harvey White, comes from Tottenham for £2.5 million. Some superb potential in him. He can play in midfield or DM role. I'm hoping the DM role really, but at 23 years old, we can't grumble. Newcastle let go of this centre-back for £7.5 million. Smolzic, I think. I do apologise. But stats-wise, speak for themselves. Pretty good at marking and tackling and what have you. Leadership skills. Got very good strength and anticipation. We're going to play him as a central defender and not as a ball-playing defender. But still some potential left in him. Quite a lot, actually. We spent £9 million on Cody Drumme from Leeds. I do think we were duped in this one a little bit. However, some potential still left in him. He can play at right back. I think that's where he is going to be playing. We needed some more pace there, and I think we may have it. And finally, £14.5 million from Josh William Esbrand to play at left back. He is our best signing, I think. £14.5 million. Villa, I feel, are going to be weakened. You may wonder where Bagan went. He left. He went last January, in fact. Hence why we struggled towards the end of the season. Our best left back. Hence why we had to go and bring another superb one in as well. And again, potential still there. So only £35.5 million spent. We struggled to get anybody into the club, to be honest. We kept being overbidded by a lot of clubs, and I think these were the best of the ones that we could really grab hold of. Like I say, Joel Bagan went to Brighton for £24 million last January, but out the door go quite a few out on loan with the potential to be bought with future fees. Robinson, Ojo, Rinamata, Allsop and Rouse, they're not going to get any game time. They're in the 30s or late 20s, and they're just kicking up a fuss. Dowda goes to Portsmouth for $450,000 and Adams goes to Mallorca for 1.7. We are going to be playing with two DMs at the back, with Colwell playing as an advanced playmaker, two inverted wingers, one on attack, one on support. Bakawisha up front with Esbrand at the back, with Smolcic at the back as well. More than likely partnering McGuinness. It hasn't gone too bad pre-season. We only had the one loss against Albacete. 2-0, but all the other games were like 2-0, 1-0, which wasn't too bad. We started off the Premiership campaign with a win against Aston Villa, 1-0. Then we lost to Tottenham, drew with Leicester, beat Oxford in the Carabao Cup, and then drew with Bournemouth away from home. We are currently lying in 12th position, which isn't too bad, just the one loss so far. And once again, we are still predicted to finish bottom of the table. I just think that Cardiff are destined not to be in the Premiership. But if we can escape the odds once again, I'll be more than happy. The odds have been defied again. The media predicted us to go down as a bottom club, but we managed to go up a few places from last season to 14th, which is absolutely superb. 10 victories as well with 11 draws. Still quite a lot of losses, but that's probably expected. We only score 33 goals though, so that is less than last season. However, we do concede a lot less than last season. I think we conceded 63 or something to that effect last season. We conceded 10 less at this time. So having two DMs kind of worked, but going forward, we are struggling a little bit. So a little tweak to the formation, I think, for the final season to see if we can just, again, stay in the Premiership and probably gain a couple more vital places. Our league form, we didn't do too bad up until November, where we had 2 wins in the next couple of months. Any big defeats? Nothing major. A 3-3 draw with Chelsea, which is quite nice. A 0-0 with Manchester United. We have a loss against Man City, obviously. Liverpool will lose to West Ham. There's quite some teams there we think we should do better against, but Arsenal will lose. Leeds, Arsenal again twice in a matter of weeks. Wow. But we beat Brentford and then we beat Chelsea, and then we go to Newcastle and lose 5-1. Bitterly disappointing, especially by that amount as well, considering we have virtually 6 players at the back, including not including the goalkeeper. A 4-0 against Fulham, that's after drawing with Villa and Leeds. A couple of more draws at Liverpool, which help us quite a lot, but a win over Norwich near the bottom, Leicester and Crystal Palace, that kind of helped us stay up. Carabao Cup, we reached the 3rd round, losing to MK Dons of all teams as well. Obviously in a lower division, but to lose after 4 minutes, that is severely disappointing. FA Cup, we reached the 5th round, lose to Newcastle after extra time, and that's after beating Aldershot and Preston, but an extra time winner from Joe Linton in the 111th minute. We almost took them to penalties, where would we have had a chance to go through? Who knows? Our squad then. So our new striker, the Belgium, 20 goals in 38, which isn't too bad for his first season with 3 assists. Day 7 goals, 5 assists. We've got Atet as well. He 4 starts, 4 goals, which isn't too bad as well. He seems to have gone off a little bit, but that doesn't matter. He'll still be around as a backup, I'm guessing. But we are going to stick with our main striker now. Harvey Vale, how did he do? 2 goals, 3 assists. That's disappointing from the wing, but if we're not getting forward as much, then that could be the problem there. Again, a few more goals though amongst the whole team though, so not just a select few. Assist-wise, a lot more, which is nice to see. So going into next season, we've been handed another £50 million. I dread to think if we've lost anybody. So let's have a quick look into the transfers before we do anything else. Did we lose anybody? Not particularly. Paul Williams went on loan to Derby in February. That is about it. So relatively happy with that. So let's go and spend some of this money. Let's try a different tact and bring in a couple of quality players if we can manage it. That might be the difference of being comfortable rather than struggling to stay in the Premiership. Just a fair few transfers to talk about. So first one, Tendon Mengi comes for a defensive role. He comes in on a free, which is absolutely fantastic. And wow, he's still got potential there. £2 million from Leeds, Joe Geldhard. We know he's quite a good striker. A lot of potential. He's got quite good attributes as well, which he can play on the left-hand side, right-hand side, centre, but mainly for a backup striker. We did lose Atet on loan, so he comes in as a backup. From Go Ahead Eagles for £5 million, we're bringing a goalkeeper. We had to bring in a goalkeeper because somebody activated a certain goalkeeper's release clause, which I wasn't happy about, especially going into the final season, and hence why we're in the position where we are at the moment. But we bring in Plogman. Looks really, really good actually, and I think he's a lot better than what Travers was. We raid Forest for the next 2 players. Gibbs White comes in for £7.5 million from Forest to sit in the midfield. Danilo as well, £10 million for the 25-year-old. I think that's an absolute bargain. And from Watford, £14 million, Chiquino. He's going to be on the left or right hand side going forward, and his stats look pretty nice as well. Great crossing and dribbling. Hopefully he'll do well for us as well. So Travers went to West Ham for £800,000. I'm not very happy at all. Callum Robinson goes for 115,000 up to 165. Not an awful lot. A lot of freebies and a lot of players going out on loan as well. Pre-season was okay. Start of the season, not so. In fact, we've lost our last 5 games, including the Carabao Cup second round game as well. Just the 1 point on the board, and that's mainly due to the fact that we lost a goalkeeper and we couldn't get another goalkeeper in fast enough. Plugman came in on the last day of the transfer window. So hopefully things will start picking up now. But saying that, we've only lost by the odd goal. We did draw with Palace, but we got teams like Tottenham, Man City, Liverpool. I mean, what a start to a campaign that is. At least they're out of the way early. But Aston Villa, I feel like we should have won that. And Wolves, disappointing again. We are lying second from bottom. It's going to be a very tough season. I thought we brought in players that would help the club. It doesn't appear so at all at the moment. But that could be because we lost Travers and we couldn't get any replacement in quick enough. However, the season preview and the media sees us off the bottom of the predictions. We're second from bottom now, 900 to 1. With Middlesbrough newly promoted going straight back down with Blackburn as well. Wolves, who just got promoted up and who beat us 1-0, are predicted to finish mid-table. But that's where we want to be. We want to try and beat our 14th position last season. But I feel again it's going to be one of them seasons. So let's simulate our final season. Let's see if we survive. I'll be amazed at the position we're in currently if we do. So let's go and simulate and see how well we do. As the final season unfolds, and we finished 12th. So we gained a couple of more places than last season, despite the fact we had a torrid start after losing our first choice goalkeeper. But it seems to have been pulled back at least. Anyway, we got a few wins under our belts. 11 wins this time, so we are increasing that. We are decreasing the losses. We're scoring a few more goals as well, 40 compared to 38 games, so that's good. 44 points, more points than games played, so that's always a good ratio as well. Liverpool win the league, and wow, we beat them 3-1. That almost ruined their chances of winning the league. Chelsea, Newcastle, Arsenal, United, Tottenham, Everton, Man City. Man City finishing 8th position. Wow, okay. Any other shocks in here? Not really. Southampton, Middlesbrough and Blackburn all go down. But we survive yet again. So after our torrid start, like I say, 4 losses on the bounce, we do pick things up with our first victory over Southampton 1-0. We don't get another victory until Brighton in the November. With that, we lose to Leeds 4-0 there. I mean, some big scores though, to be fair. December was a better month, just the 3 losses in fact, Norwich, Tottenham and West Ham. But we draw with Chelsea, draw with Arsenal, beat Newcastle. So to lose to Norwich seems a little bit off. And West Ham we get thumped 6-1. United we draw. So January was a lot better. United, like I say, we draw. Middlesbrough draw, beat Norwich, beat Crystal Palace. That's a really good month. We struggle in February, 4-1 loss to Newcastle there. And then we pick ourselves up towards the end of the season. A 4-2 loss to Brighton, a 4-2 loss to Man City and Southampton towards the end, with a 4-0 thumping of Wolves. That's probably our biggest victory to date, I believe. 4 goals in a game, I think it is. Wow, okay. But it doesn't matter, we survived. So it's getting better. The Carabao Cup, we bow out to Aston Villa 2-1 in the second round. FA Cup, we get a bit further. We beat Stevenage, we beat Burnley, but we bow out to Newcastle, which we seem to lose quite a lot to in the FA Cup. We lost last season in the 5th round as well. 4th round to Newcastle in the season before that. Oh, it was West Brom in the 3rd round there. And Bradford. So the last 3 seasons, it's been Newcastle. And goals have been... well, it's not been forthcoming at all. We have really, really struggled. Unless we go on the offensive, go at them, it's not going to happen, is it? I think it's just survival until there's better quality players, possibly, and even better coaches. We'll have a look at the coaches, see where we stand with that. 16 goals for Balkiwisha, though. I mean, even Ojo got 9 goals out on his loan spell. But apart from that, we've been poor. Assists, Day, Chichino, White, Gibbs White, even Colwell. Yeah, I mean, again, the increase in assists throughout the team is a lot better as well. And Plogman in his first season, 52 goals conceded in 36. Staffing, and let's have a look at the staff. This is why we are just above average, and even scouting as well. We haven't been able to pull in better players, have we really? Because of the scouting and the training is just awful. Finances, where do we stand? I mean, they have got £132 million in the bank. Would they be considered rich? Another £54 million. Debts. They've only got the bank loan now, which they have £50 million left to pay on that. So that's good, and £80,000 in transfer debt. Let's have a quick look at the records, see if there's anything that we've actually done in the last 5 seasons that's anything on there. Nothing really, to be fair. I mean, highest position was 2nd in the Premiership. That was in 23-24. We're not likely to beat that at the moment. 2026 was the highest gate receipts, 880,000 against Newcastle. And the highest average attendance, probably the same game actually, 27.8 thousand people there. 2023, 6-5 against Stoke was the highest scoring league match. Atek scored 38 goals in this season. Maybe we should have hung on to him really and made him our star striker. Anything else? 2026, the oldest player, 33 years. Alnick, the goalkeeper, of course, in the season just gone, because we were waiting for our new goalkeeper to arrive. So I hope you really enjoyed that. It's been an absolute slog, I'm not going to lie. It's been very difficult trying to get players, even though we have the budget, £50 million a year in the transfer budget for the last 3 seasons. It has been difficult to lure players in, but we managed to get the likes of Gibbs, Danilo in the end. Maybe by finishing a bit higher up in the table, we might be able to get more players in if it was continued. But the whole point of this one was really to get ourselves into the Premiership and stay there, and I think we have done that. So if you did enjoy that, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let me know down in the comments who you would like to see rebuilt next, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.